Former President Jacob Zuma and his co-accused from French arms company Thales are set to be back in court tomorrow for another step towards the much-delayed arms deal trial. Now, this follows the Supreme Court of Appeal's decision on Friday to dismiss Zuma's latest private prosecution appeal against prosecutor Billy Downer and journalist Karyn Maughan. Zuma and Thales, of course, facing charges including fraud, corruption and money laundering dating all the way back to the 1999 arms deal. eNCA reporter Siphamandla Goge joins us. Good evening to you, Sipa. I mean, this is such a long-running issue and there's so many sideshows. Zuma's attempt to get Billy Downer not to be the chief prosecutor being one of them. It's very easy to lose track of where we are in the process. So please help us. Bring us up to speed. What's expected to happen tomorrow?
This is another application by the former president. Remember, he attempted for the first time to have Billy Downer removed. Well, the courts said, we don't think you have a case. They dismissed him, and then we are back to square one now. He's decided to come back to the High Court Division, sitting in Pietermaritzburg under Judge Nkosinathi Chili, a new judge following Judge Bidkun's recusal. There was a new judge that was assigned or allocated this case as the presiding judge. So therefore, the former president said, well, there's a new judge now. Judge Bidkun is no longer there. Let me start this matter from scratch. I want Billy Downer removed as the state lead prosecutor. He's still advancing quite a number of arguments that he has advanced before. His main arguments, the gist of his argument is that Billy Downer is not suitable, is not fit to prosecute him or to lead the prosecution's team. He is of the view that Billy Downer is a conflicted individual, so therefore if he were to be granted a fair and just trial, he would need to have Billy Downer removed. But previously, the courts have said, well, there is no substance in what President, or rather former President Jacob Zuma is alleging about Billy Downer. In the past, he was alleging that Billy Downer lacks the title to prosecute, that he has colluded with the journalist Karyn Maughan, that he had leaked his medical records to the journalist. The court said, well, that's not entirely true because that document we are talking about was part of the court papers. So therefore, your argument does not hold. So tomorrow he will try again to persuade Judge Nkosinathi Chili as to why Billy Downer should be removed. But he will be basing his argument on a number of points and a number of allegations that he would have made before. Will he succeed? We can only wait and find out in court. But this is what his legal team, led by Advocate Dalimpo for Senior Counsel, argued before when we were at the Pietermaritzburg High Court. Let's take a listen.
There's the colloquial saying that says, where there's a corrupter, there's a corruptee. There's even a crime of receiving stolen property, knowing it to be stolen. So all we're saying in this context is that the discloser, to steal that Anglicism, the discloser is as guilty as the disclosee. In other words, if I disclose the information obtained from, I've read the statute, I'm not going to read it again, and you receive it, then you are, at best for you, an accomplice. But it doesn't matter because those things will be argued in the criminal case. For now, the question is whether you are criminally liable. Whether it's as an accomplice or an accessor after the fact or whatever is not for now.
All right, so that's Advocate Dalimpo, and correct me if I'm wrong, because it really is quite easy to lose track, but wasn't Jacob Zuma accused of vexatious litigation in this matter already? I'm trying to understand, and I understand that Bidkun recused himself because he'd been quite outspoken about this case, saying it had no merit, if I recall. I'm trying to understand why it's sort of back to step one with everything that's happened in the courts, even though it's through a private prosecution process. Tell me what the state's saying.
If we were to rewind a little bit as to why the former president decided that this matter must come back to the High Court division sitting in Pietermaritzburg under a new judge, and that will be Judge Gosnat Cili, it's simply because at the time, as we heard from that clip that we have just played of Advocate Dalimpofu, he was saying, I'm still privately prosecuting Advocate Billy Downer. He cannot lead this prosecution when it comes to my corruption trial. He is an accused person in this private matter that I'm pursuing. So therefore, up until all those processes are done, we cannot have him leading the prosecution's team when it comes to this fraud and corruption case that I'm facing. That was his argument. We know that the Supreme Court of Appeal has said that, listen, there are no prospects of success here, so therefore let's just get on with it on that private prosecution matter. Coming back to this matter now, the state has always argued that they are ready to commence or to continue with this trial, because technically the trial has started when the former president entered that special plea. He pleaded not guilty to all the charges that he's facing. So by virtue of him pleading not guilty, entering that plea bargain, we are already underway with this trial. So it's just a matter of these, delays now and again. There will be these stops and starts here and there, and hence even tomorrow we expect that the state will argue that we are ready to commence with this, or rather to continue with this trial. These unreasonable delays are further putting a strain, or rather more delays, on this already long delayed trial. Let's get on with it. And the former president's legal team will be arguing that, well, the legal recourse allows the former president to appeal if he's not happy. So you can't rush these matters up until all the appeals processes, all the legal challenges that the former president is mounting, up until they are exhausted. We cannot continue with this trial. So we expect that tomorrow those will be the arguments that will be advanced in court. But we also expect that the state will argue that there is nothing new in the former president's application of having Billy Downer removed again. They will say courts have decided on this matter previously. They have decided to turn down the former president's application. Therefore, even this one, according to the state's argument that will be advanced tomorrow, they will say there are no prospects of success here. Let's listen to what Advocate Billy Downer said earlier on when such issues were raised.
So, and my learned friends, in trying to develop that argument for condemnation, which of course we haven't seen, because they choose not to give us an application for condemnation. Even after we warned them weeks ago that we were going to argue that your Lordship's order had now kicked in, that the trial is going to start on the 7th of November. But they don't. And they now seek, I would imagine, unless they bullheadedly proceed and try to convince the Constitutional Court that they don't need to apply for leave to appeal, it's going to be a difficult application. So that being so, the court is in a similar position to Mnyeni, where it's very attractive to say, oh, well, let's just wait. What's another month or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5? Because the Con Court in due course will decide this issue. They might decide it quite soon, because the application is in, and the state has to answer. I think, yes, yeah, their application is in, and we have to answer, and they have to reply, of course. And it's possible that the Con Court could, on the papers, dismiss the application, in which case this court would then be even more free to go on, or it could ask for argument and heads of argument and a trial date, etc. And that traditionally and in all of our experience takes a while.
So, of course, one wonders if the former president himself will be in court tomorrow.
There's no confirmation that he will be in court tomorrow. There's also no confirmation that he will not be in court tomorrow. Unfortunately, I'm unable to recall what the judge said when we were here last time, whether there is any expectation or order for him to be physically present in court. I can't recall what was the ruling of the judge on that one. But the likelihood is that he may show up in court tomorrow, because as of today, there is nothing indicating that he is unwell to attend court. He's been busy campaigning for the African National Congress in KwaZulu-Natal. So therefore, I guess if he is physically fit to come to court, he would attend court proceedings tomorrow. but we can only find out tomorrow in the morning when we come here. Usually you will see the Presidential Protection Unit and the security detail of the former president giving an indication that he will be attending. So if they are here tomorrow, then we can pretty much conclude that he will be attending. But it's expected that he may attend.
I guess we'll wait and see. And thank you so much for bringing us up to speed ahead of tomorrow's events. That's our senior reporter, Siphamandla Goge in Pietermaritzburg. Now, still